Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Rooftop Talk with Case Patrick. I'm back on my rooftop, and unlike the last video with Paul, it is a little bit warmer. It's a little bit brighter. It's still, I think, like in the 40s right now, so I got my sleeves on. But it is a beautiful day. It was raining yesterday, so thank God it is not raining right now, or else all my equipment would have been getting wet. We won't like that. Just like Kevin doesn't like this 6-week losing streak. No. It is the end game, fellas. It is the end game. I I can't believe it, Kevin. Well, you might be messing up. You might be messing up pretty bad. Pretty bad. The lead has been shrunk to 0 points. It is just a difference of a cumulative total score. Anthony, you did it. You're the first person to catch up to him. But you might not be the last. Because it is getting pretty close. This is the scoreboard right now. You see the scoreboard? Yeah. You're here, Anthony, tied with 54 points with Kevin. Right behind you is Daniel, coming in strong with 49 points, only 2 games behind. Technically 1 point ahead of me, Daniel, which is not cool of you. I don't appreciate that draw that you got, although at the same time, I guess I appreciate it because that means that Nick is below me right now. So, thank you. No, thank you. But it doesn't really matter because even though we're just 1 point, I'm going to catch up to you. No one's going to do it. So, both me and Dan and Nate are all 2 games behind first place. That's top 5 within 2 games, which is crazy. Also, shout out to Nate real quick, because Nate's strategy is really the get a good team, pray that they perform, and then have a handful of weeks where you make some changes. And you are, I think you're doing really good, God, and it's really frustrating actually that you just played the long game by not touching anything. You basically like bought crypto in 2013 and then you just sat on it. With some ups and downs, but it's skyrocketed for you now. And which is the exact opposite strategy of Kevin. Because I feel like Kevin, you came in here, you had a really strong team, and the way that you've been doing really well is by doing a ton of trades every single week to get really good matchups. But if you look at your team right now, honestly, Kevin, I don't know. I don't know. It seems like you're on a little bit of slim pickings. You got some injuries. You're kind of touching the bottom of the barrel. Julian Alvarez still kind of like, your guy. Ivan Toney, you picked him up. You did that long-term thing, but man hasn't been performing outside of those first few weeks. I don't know how long it might prove this strategy to not be very sustainable, but we still have 8 weeks to go. 9 weeks to go, so we'll have to see. And in those 9 weeks, let's see. You got some pretty interesting matchups. Yeah, we'll see. But I'm going to go through and give my prediction right now with these last 9 weeks or so left on what the actual tally is going to be. I don't have too much to say on all the trades and stuff. Last week was a pretty hairy week. This was the game week where there was like 2 teams playing. And Edgar, you were like extremely rude for dropping basically half your team so you could have almost an entirely starting squad. The 1 week I play you, which is not cool. Edgar, come on, you're struggling. You're struggling. You're not doing good. Why you gonna attack me, man? Why you gonna attack me? But anyways, I got my revenge. Wood came in clutch. I got the dub. I didn't expect to do it, but I'm just saying it was karma. It was just karma. So, anyways, looking at the table right now, this is Case Patrick's prediction for who the top 3 is going to be. I am going to predict that Kevin, I don't know if you're going to, I'm not going to say anything about this weekend, but I don't know if you're success is going to match what the majority of this season has been, I unfortunately think you're going to drop out. There's a lot of threat in like the top 6 right now, and even though like you have 2 games ahead of third, fourth, and fifth place, guess Kevin, I'm gonna guess you're gonna get fourth. I think you're gonna drop out third. That's my guess. And following up with you, ooh, this is hard. I think that Nick's gonna come clutch. He's gonna far away. I mean, he's still only like a couple of points behind me again. Top 6 is really close, but I think Nick's gonna pull through. I think you're gonna get third place, Nick, and then followed by Anthony. Dan, you're in third place right now. I think you're gonna drop out because I just don't believe in you, Dan.
Overrated as fuck, in my opinion.
Never have. Never performed like you are supposed to, like you apparently do in your other leagues. So I think you're gonna drop down to 5th, with Nick coming in third, followed by the current second place Anthony holding his position. I think you're gonna struggle a little bit, Anthony. You're gonna go some ups, some downs, but with your lead and the team that you have on your play right now, I think you'll be able to keep strong within top 3. And then of course, I mean, the obvious pick is Casey Fitzpatrick clutch comeback. I'm gonna be finishing the league in first place. I'm 2 games behind. It's gonna be an easy 2 games. Thank you, Anthony, for doing my dirty work, and everyone else for doing the dirty work on bringing Kevin down. I know I slacked. It should be a 7-game streak, but instead it's a 6 because I lost to Kevin by 1 point. That's my bad for not starting my strongest lineup. But I just want to make things interesting, and that's why I'm just playing the long game. And I'm going to come in first. It's going to be a close one, but I am going to be coming in first. That's my prediction. It's going to be Nick number 3, Anthony number 2, Casey number 1. I gotta take a little break. Next up, we're going to be discussing my predictions for who's going to win the Premier League, something that's only like slightly less important than our fantasy Premier League, of course. Our fantasy Premier League's far more important than the actual Premier League. But I gotta go take a break. We're going over to the Mets game, home opener, and it's gonna be fun. Got sweet tickets because of shout out to Rachel's dad for that. His company gets the hookup. Also shout out to Paula for my fresh new merch. That's Rachel's mom. Paula, you're the goat. Got me this Manchester United sweater, little guy, crew neck. And yeah, I'll see you in a couple hours. And next time.
C'è la luna, mezza mare, mamma mia, mi maradare. Figli mia, cutterare, mamma mia, pensaccia tu. Sitte d'ogna pisciaolo, ite va, ite viene, si può calare del mare bene. Se ci picchia fantasia, baccalata, figli mia. Oh mamma, la 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 la. Oh mamma, la 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 la. Mama dear.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on.
It's the baker boy, and look, he's got a cannoli in his hand. If you marry the baker boy, he will come and he will go, and he will always mix the flour in the pan. If you marry the baker boy, he'll have the cannoli in his hand. Oh, mama, la 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 la. Oh, mama, la 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 la.
We are back. Now, a few glizzies here, a few hot dogs there, a few salties here, a few cookies there. The Mets lost. Rachel's dad, he's a big Mets fan. He seemed pretty fine with it. I feel like that's also just like part of the Mets. You're kind of like always in a state of dread because your team sucks. I can relate. But anyways, back to now my final wrap off of today's video, keeping it hopefully a little bit shorter than last one's. My predictions for the top 3 of the Premier League. So as it currently stands, let's look. I think it is the Arsenal's technically in first. Yeah. So Arsenal tied with Liverpool on points, but up on goal difference. Goal difference is, I suppose, significant. It's 7 goals, so that's noteworthy for sure. And City is 1 point behind them. You know, here's the thing. It is concerning for Liverpool that they just lost to United in that game at the FA Cup. It was rough. I think that they felt really confident. I think you could see it in like Klopp's reactions at times, like when they came back to make it like 2-1. I think Klopp was like, "Oh, this is funny. Like, you know, you guys thought you had it, maybe." Then, you know, obviously in the end, United did have it. And while they didn't really look good in that game because they lost, I think that it was kind of necessary loss for them right now to humble them. Gosh, Rachel's calling me. 1 sec. All right, we back. Sorry about that. Talking about dinner. Also, it's getting kind of cold again. The wind has really been kicking it. At the game today, it was very windy. Anyways, that's besides the point. But yeah, so I think that Liverpool losing to United was a rude awakening for how they need to really pick up the pace, especially if they're gonna have this grandiose conclusion to Klopp's epic career at Liverpool of winning 1 Premier League title and a Champions League. I think it's whatever. I don't. Honestly, wasted potential, Klopp. That's what I would say. Not some amazing 500 IQ manager. Hot take.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
But with that said, they do have the plot armor right now. You know, it was revealed to be slightly weak against United, but they got the plot armor on their side. Albeit with the caveat of some injuries. You know, Trent Alexander-Arnold is still out right now. Hota's out right now, and that man, dude, I don't know why they don't play him when he's healthy more, because he's a goal machine, man. He's a fiend. But so yeah, that's kind of where they're sitting. I feel like even though they had the United loss, that doesn't mean too much for the Premier League's sake. Their final like matchups at the end of the season aren't that bad. I mean, you know, they're not the best, but like comparatively, they're fine. They can handle it. So I think that they're sitting well. Now going over to Arsenal, Arsenal's probably in the best form at the moment, which is, you know, convenient for them to be in the first position. Obviously, still tied with points, but their player health is fine. Saka's probably getting a little tired. I think in the Premier League app it says that he's like yellow right now. So I mean, you know, Arteta's still going to play him if that man's injured because he doesn't care about that man's health. But fatigue might settle in a little bit. And the thing that I'm concerned with Arsenal is like their matchup is not ideal. Like they have definitely the most challenging matchup of the bunch for the last few games. So I'm nervous of that. Although they are kind of still demonstrating that they're going to be performing well. I think this weekend's going to really show a lot when they play against Man City. That outcome is, I don't want to go as far as to say to decide their fate, both teams perhaps, but it's definitely going to be, depending on the outcome and how close it is particularly, it's going to be a big one. All right, we back again. You probably noticed a little bit of a little scene change. Yeah, so my laptop broke. I mean, not broke, but it died. And so I brought it back downstairs to charge because I forgot to charge it when we went to the game today. And then we went to dinner. It was tasty. Got a hamburger and a cider. Been really into ciders recently, which has been fun. And yeah, but to get back into it, my top 3 final predictions. So I think that I'm going to make a claim right now. Some people might not be happy with this or agree with it, but I'm going to say that Arsenal is going to get third. I just think that their last final matchups are going to be difficult. Obviously, this might bite me in the butt, especially if they end up pulling through against City this weekend. But I think just comparatively with the top 3 teams, the last matchups are difficult. They might get too much confidence. That was kind of part of the issue with last year's Arsenal team, especially coming into this international break, having like 2 weeks of downtime, all being like above everyone, maybe having some banter with your fellow international teammates while you're on the break too, like, oh yeah, we're ahead of you guys, blah blah blah. Might get to the best of them. Who knows? We'll see. But what I think I'll see is them ultimately caving into 3rd place, which means 2nd place. Oh, obviously it's a hard draw, but I think I'm gonna say City. I think I'm gonna give it to City. My guess is gonna be City's getting 2nd place. I think that they have enough consistency to power through a lot of this stuff because Pep's pedigree. Even with some of the injuries, I don't know if this made it in the last cut, but yes, Stones, Walker. I don't think I mentioned Walker last time too. De Bruyne's still kind of iffy, but I don't know. Holland hasn't looked as Hollandy recently, but he also kind of has been scoring a lot still. They destroy teams and then they don't. We'll see. They do, I would say, have to deal with FA Cup, Champions League, and the Premier League, which is more than both Liverpool and Arsenal have to say right now. So that's hard, but it's also like not their first rodeo. They literally got the trouble last year. So yeah, that would be disappointing as well if they got a back-to-back trouble. I would hate Pep even more for that. But yeah, so that does leave Liverpool at first. I am just a firm believer of the plot armor, you know? Like, even though it did not pan out on the Liverpool squad for the FA Cup against United, that's just because it was United. I mean, come on, man, easy, of course. But no, really, I think the plot armor is going to come in clutch for something. Although I guess at the same time, it would be kind of funny if the plot armor only becomes successful for them winning the Europa League title, because as I mentioned earlier, I think Klopp's kind of had a little bit of an overrated reign at Liverpool, and he's a fine manager, but like, come on, no, whatever. Great personality. I will miss the guy though, outside of his like dog shit interviews that he gives sometimes.
How come it became so difficult in extra time?
A bit of a dumb question, I have to say, because...
But I am going to give it to Liverpool for the win, for the glory, for the plot. Even though, honestly, everything's kind of against them right now with injuries and... yeah. They're still kind of technically tied in first with points, so let's not forget about that, especially if they win this weekend and Arsenal lose this weekend, then they will be up in points. So yeah, we'll see if it. Again, top 3 Premier League, Liverpool 1, City 2, Arsenal 3, and top 3 in one of the more important fantasy Premier League, Casey 1, Anthony 2, and Nick 3. I think that's what I said earlier. Yeah, I think Kevin's going to drop down to 4th, yeah. And yeah, so we'll see how it turns out. Anyways, I've had a fun run on this little rooftop adventure with you guys. And didn't really have the most amount of content today to say, but I enjoyed talking. And even if no one watches, I enjoyed talking. And I got my little lamp here. And I will never fail to bring my microphone, which I'm sorry if the wind is really getting into the mic. But yeah, Rooftop Top Caves, Patrick, coming at you. It's the end of the season. It's the final rounds games. We'll see who wins, comes victorious. Ciao.